YOLO Julius, it's your girl Raven Chapman, the Omen. Just want to give you a big shout out here from the UK. And Ring IQ, you're the man. Thanks so much for your support.
Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Let's start with this. The continued fallout of Tyson Fury's circus fight with Francis Ngannou, his countryman Froch launched an attack on Tyson Fury, saying it's an absolute load of shit. Being honest with you, I haven't seen many, if any, positive reactions to the announcement. It's been all critiques, criticisms, and adverse reactions. Carl Froch is not impressed with Tyson Fury. Carl is no stranger to hitting out at issues in the heavyweight division, and Tyson Fury is the latest fighter to feel the Cobra's venom. The current WBC champion is currently... It's important to note that it's not like Carl Froch is a big fan of Anthony Joshua either. It's not like when Tony Bellew says something, when Tony Bellew... Because we know that Tony's good friends with Anthony. We know what side of the aisle he's on. So if he levies a criticism towards a Tyson Fury, it's dismissed in some circles because people feel that Tony is partial, but Carl isn't. Carl had smoke for Anthony Joshua not but a few days ago. A few days later, he's got smoke for Fury. Carl Froch, who won his first world title on the same show Fury made his pro debut in, he doesn't like this Ngannou fight, and he's made his feelings clear when addressing Fury's plans. It's another crossover fight. A load of rubbish, said Froch. Absolute load of shit. Don't like swearing, but it's a load of shit. We don't want to see that fight. We want to see Tyson Fury in there with Usyk. These crossover fights, these novelty acts have lost their appeal, and they lost that appeal a long time ago on the premise that at least one of these fighters, the MMA fighter versus the boxer, the conventional boxer, at least one of them is going to be at a great disadvantage, and it is obvious, making this little more than just a spectacle, a novelty act. It's not a real contest. Francis Ngannou is not a real boxer. And all the hard feelings in play over how Tyson Fury handled negotiations with Alexander Usyk for what was supposed to be the undisputed title fight. To many, it just feels like he was trying to sabotage that fight this whole time. That's how I feel. The WBC president, Mauricio Suleiman, has revealed they've granted Tyson Fury special permission to fight Francis Ngannou on October 28th, and he will not be stripped of his WBC heavyweight world title, though some feel that he should be. Twitter account that goes by the name Boxing Kingdom stated, Tyson Fury isn't about the money, he's after boxing legacy. That's why he's fighting a UFC fighter in Saudi Arabia. Once officially confirmed, the WBC should strip Tyson Fury. We know they're not, but we also know that for the longest time Tyson Fury has fancied himself a Spartan, a fighting man, not a business guy like Anthony Joshua. I mean, how many times have you heard Tyson Fury sing that tune just for him to turn around and pull this stunt? This is one of the biggest hypocrites in boxing, and while there are no shortage of hypocrites in the sport of boxing, Tyson Fury is one of the bigger hypocrites, one of the biggest I've ever seen. A charlatan. People at Boxing Kingdom feel that he should be stripped for this latest fiasco, as does Usyk's promoter, who's calling for Fury to be stripped of the WBC title ahead of the Ngannou exhibition. To me, it's no less than he deserves. Tyson Fury has not fought since December, when he stopped Derek Chisora in the 10th round at Tottenham Hotspur's Stadium. A pointless trilogy followed by a pointless exhibition. No, I don't think Fury's belt should be relinquished, Krassyuk told Seconds Out. He can be stripped for only one reason, if he does not comply with the WBC's rules, but according to my understanding, he does comply. He fought British contender Dillian Whyte for the mandatory, and now they have to appoint him a new mandatory, because the new mandatory has not been appointed. He's not actually breaking any rule of the WBC, and maybe it's because the WBC bent their own rules. They've held off on crowning a new mandatory challenger for Tyson Fury on the premise that Wilder and Ruiz haven't reached a deal yet. They ordered them to fight late last year, and they still haven't reached a deal to do the fight months later. So instead of going down their own ranks and finding two other guys to fight in the final eliminator, the WBC are holding off on that altogether. More chicanery. I don't know how anybody in good conscience can give those people a portion of their place, a portion of their money. A fighter and their team paying sanctioning fees to climb up those ranks, what's the point if they're just going to give you the runaround? In any event, Fury doesn't appear to be violating the WBC's bylaws, so on that premise, he shouldn't be stripped. Not on that premise. But from a sports point of view, said Krassyuk, pure boxing, sports, he has to be stripped because he stayed so inactive for so long, and he is like cheating people, announcing fights that don't take place.
Tyson Fury himself caught wind of Alexander Krassyuk's comments about him being stripped, and he responded the way you'd expect him to respond.
Hey guys, a little bit of clarification. There's a lot of unknown, irrelevant people talking about how I should be stripped to my belt. Ha ha! Don't hate the player, hate the game. I don't have a mandatory. When I do have a mandatory, it'll be dealt with, just like every other mandatory I've ever had. Until then, keep on hating, motherfuckers!
I do think Tyson Fury should be stripped, not necessarily for the reasons Krassyuk gave, but because after Tyson Fury scores that huge payday with Francis Ngannou, what are the odds that he will step into the fire? What are the odds that he will step into a risky fight, a dangerous fight, having made so much money?
Not taking any risks.
Perhaps in the octagon, Francis Ngannou is a dangerous fight, a very dangerous fight for Tyson Fury, but in a boxing ring?
Francis Ngannou is not a boxer. That's not a fight.
Alexander Krassyuk said as much. Fight? You call that a fight? It's a performance, exhibition. It's not a fight. The fight is when you have undisputed, heavyweight undisputed at stake. That is a fight. When you're fighting Ngannou, you're earning money, you're entertaining fans, you're entertaining the public. That's all you're doing.
There was a time when people wondered, what happens if you get the best MMA fighter in there with the best boxer? Who wins?
But the mystique of that conversation has all but dissipated because now fans on both sides of it understand that if it's in a boxing ring, the MMA fighter is at a great disadvantage, and if it's in the octagon, the boxer is at a great disadvantage. So depending on where the fight happens, you already know the outcome.
It's not a contest. It's a cash grab.
For Tyson Fury here today, an undisputed WBC heavyweight champion, just one fight away from fighting for the crown jewel in his respected discipline, his sport, for him to end up fighting an MMA guy instead of focusing on Usyk.
I heard Frank Warren call into Talk Sport. Needless to say, I don't think the people at Talk Sport...
I think they went easy on him. I don't think they let him have it the way they should have. You let Frank tell it, and it was either Ngannou or nobody.
Because the WBC ain't got rank standings? Because you couldn't find a boxer, an actual boxer to fight, to keep busy with, en route to Usyk.
That they tried to get Usyk in the ring, and they tried to get Anthony Joshua in the ring.
Oh, because the heavyweight division only consists of those two guys? What about Martin Bacoli? What about Michael Hunter?
Frankie Sanchez, Agit Kabayel. I mean, you're telling me that it was either Francis Ngannou or no one, or is it...
You couldn't find nobody else.
Or is it that you could find someone else, you could fight a boxer, but you won't make with the boxer what you make with Ngannou?
You don't got the Midas touch to go in there with just anybody and get a big price.
Moreover, I don't think this guy wants to work hard anymore. I don't think he has the passion for the sport. I think that was indicative in the Derek Chisora farce fight.
He was on Easy Street in that fight, and he wants to stay on Easy Street with this one.
That's what it is. And after he scores that big price, that big payday, for taking no risks at all, for sharing a boxing ring with a guy who don't box.
Well, you think he's going to come back to boxing and start taking risks again?
You think he's going to reshift his focus to what? An Usyk fight?
That's why I think he should be stripped.
Long as this guy's in possession of that WBC title, we as consumers, we as boxing fans, will be deprived of the undisputed title fight.
I don't think he's going to do it.
And that will hold up the division. What is intended to be one of the giants in the sport, rather play dancing bear in Saudi in a circus fight.
What kind of competitor is he supposed to be?
If we're going to straight talk it, because I don't have to kiss anybody's ass to maintain any relationships or get access to any particular team, any fighter. If we're gonna straight talk it, Tyson Fury's just a fat fucking fraud.
I come to you as a consumer, not a member of the media.
I come to you as a boxing fan, not somebody at Talk Sport brown-nosing,
Making swirlies in Frank Warren's ass so he don't fly off the handle.
asking softball questions, pulling punches. No, I'm not that guy. I'm just a consumer, like you.
And as a consumer, what I see is that Tyson Fury, he doesn't want to compete anymore. And if he doesn't want to compete anymore, just drop the belt, move on with your life, and do as many dog and pony shows as you like.
Frank called in to Talk Sport to explain the situation. The same Talk Sport that Anthony Joshua feels is trying to slander him, saying there's an attack on my name at Talk Sport, and Tyson Fury is everyone's favorite.
At least at Talk Sport he is.
Anthony Joshua believes there's not a fair comparison in analysis between when he fights 12 rounds compared to when WBC heavyweight champion Tyson Fury fights for 12 rounds, saying, let me ask you a question. When everyone's favorite at Talk Sport, Tyson Fury, fought Otto Wallin over 12 rounds and busted his eye open, no one complained, Joshua said. Anthony Joshua goes 12 rounds with Jermaine Franklin, and it's like, arg, what's happened to the heavyweight division? Why is that? What is the problem with me going 12 rounds?
Double standards. That's the problem. Hypocrisy.
You know, I'm starting to think that maybe Anthony Joshua watches the relay from time to time, because I swear to God, I made this same comment not but a few days ago, before Anthony said it.
It's either that or great minds think alike.
Though neither would surprise me. In any event, the point raised rings true. Anthony didn't go through with Jermaine Franklin what Tyson Fury went through with Otto Wallin. And Otto Wallin was just as, if not more nondescript than Jermaine Franklin, because Jermaine, we saw him give a good account of himself with Dillian Whyte, so we knew what he was capable of.
Anthony didn't get a gruesome cut over his eye and languish with Jermaine the same way that Tyson Fury got a gruesome cut and languished with Otto.
It just makes me curious, hence why I asked the question. Why do you think it is? Where one does it versus another, but you can clearly see that there's two different comparisons. It makes me wonder why. But anyway, moving on.
It's the love affair they have with Tyson Fury. It's what they want him to be versus what he actually is, and who he actually is.
Now, what he is a guy who got a gift decision over John McDermott in the early years of his career. A guy who robbed John McDermott, some years later tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs, and some years later lied about giving his entire purse to charity.
Backtrack. He skipped out on the Vladimir Klitschko rematch.
He bailed on that guy, citing his mental health bullshit that I think is all bullshit. In any event, he skipped out on the rematch that he owed Vladimir Klitschko. He pops up a couple of years later, fights Wilder, lies about giving his entire purse to charity.
What charity?
He's just a piece of fucking shit.
But the people at Talk Sport love him.
Anthony Joshua has become aware of that. I wonder, he went 12 rounds and got a busted eye. Whatever people rated Otto Wallin and whatever people rate Jermaine Franklin is their opinion, but let's put them in comparison, Joshua continued.
All right.
He was coming back after a layoff. I was coming back after a short layoff, after a loss. I went 12 rounds. He went 12 rounds. Why is it that I've got to relight my fire? Oliver then raised the point about how Joshua appears to be a different fighter to the one that first got him to world championship status, and those tracking his career may wonder what's happened to the old AJ.
He learned from his mistakes. That's what happened.
Just call a spade a spade. People act like the Andy Ruiz rematch never happened. They act like he didn't come right back and dominate that guy.
They act like Usyk is just Johnny Foreigner. They act like Usyk's not an Olympic gold medalist. They act like he's not a former undisputed champion. Underneath it all, they hold it against Anthony Joshua that he lost to that guy.
While they watch Tyson Fury shamelessly head for the hills to avoid that fight with that same guy.
At least Anthony fought him. At least he had the balls to do it. Where were Tyson Fury's?
There's two elements of it, in my opinion, Joshua responded. The criticisms that he get, the uneven criticisms, we'll just keep it factual. One is just general haters, and the second is people who want me to do better, and I love that.
The haters he's talking about are Fury's fanboys.
Too many of Anthony Joshua's biggest critics are. You'll find that whenever there's harsh criticism levied towards Anthony Joshua, usually
Anthony's biggest detractors are also Tyson Fury's biggest fans.
AJ criticism and Fury fandom go hand in hand.
But it's reached a point to where these guys love Fury's boxing so much, they don't even care if he boxes a boxer anymore.
It's where it's at, this love affair with Tyson Fury.
Fucking fraud.
I don't care if he boxes Francis Ngannou so long as he relinquishes the WBC title and goes about his business, goes on with his life and goes his own way and stops wasting people's time.
He won't say it outright.
That he has no intention of boxing Alexander Usyk. He won't say it outright because that would make him a coward.
That is, everyone would know that he's a coward.
But I don't need him to say it to know what he is. I've been watching Tyson Fury a long while now, long before it ever became about Deontay Wilder.
And he's a grifter.
A fat fucking fraud, a coward.
I ain't got no hair on my tongue like the people at Talk Sport.
Tyson Fury is a piece of shit, and he needs to be run out of boxing.
Coward.
It's all based on perception. the love affair they have with Tyson Fury. It's all based on perception, folks. It doesn't stem from the Vladimir Klitschko fight where he became a Unified Ring Magazine and lineal champion, because I remember immediately after that fight, all people could talk about was how boring it was, how awful it was. And shortly after that, he became a social pariah for the ped fiasco and the bigoted comments he made,
deciding that he should retire for 2 years while he was under investigation by UCAD.
If they are enamored with Tyson Fury here today, it's not because he beat Vladimir Klitschko, I'll tell you that. A bigger and better win over a better fighter, I think, than Deontay Wilder, by and large. It's actually the Wilder fights.
That's when the love affair really started.
Perception, folks. In their own minds, they perceive Tyson Fury taking on Deontay Wilder as this act of courage, this act of bravery, when in reality, they cherry-picked each other. That's what they did. Deontay Wilder didn't want to fight Anthony Joshua on Anthony's terms, so he sought out Tyson Fury. And Tyson Fury, he viewed Wilder as an easier fight than a Joshua fight. Remember, Joshua was an unbeaten, unified champion at the time.
Wilder was a one-trick pony.
A one-handed puncher with poor balance, poor cardio, and a poor resume.
Poor form.
Piss poor. Tyson Fury didn't end up fighting him by accident.
The Wilder did. For Wilder, it was a cherry pick gone wrong. And it's for this reason that I actually blame Deontay Wilder for the state at heavyweight here today. Tyson Fury, don't even come into it. He don't get to fight for an alphabet title if Wilder hadn't voluntarily gave him a shot.
He gave him one. Tyson Fury was not the mandatory to the WBC title when Wilder first fought him. He wasn't due a title shot. If not for Wilder bringing this guy back into it, we don't get here today.
Where's Tyson Fury still hanging around, mucking things up and wasting everyone's time?
It's Wilder's fault. Wilder's the reason we're here now. And their perception of Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury's biggest fans, they view him as the dangerous American who's strong as an ox, when in reality, he's just a guy who was protected for a very long time.
He's a one-trick pony. He was always a one-trick pony.
With a paper-thin resume, upon Tyson Fury fighting Deontay Wilder, that's when the love affair started. And it's all based on perception.
You're telling me that you're willing to put up with this much shit from this guy because he beat Bambi?
All because he beat Wilder. I mean, for the last 2 or 3 years or so, the crowning achievement for Tyson Fury is fighting the same guy 3 times.
Being in that bubble.
Opportunism aside, now that he is required to fight someone good, someone really good, someone not named Deontay Wilder, well, you see what the conversation has become.
Yeah. I know he knocked out Dillian White.
But so did Povetkin, and you don't think Povetkin hails the moon and the stars, so why is it so special when Fury does it?
It's not.
How is it good for boxing that this guy's about to fight an MMA fighter? If he were retired, I could see.
Then do what you want.
You knew exactly what you were doing when you set this up, along with all those smoke screens trying to fault Alexander Usyk for the fight's collapse.
That guy's never had a problem making a fight.
Till he had to start dealing with this fucking schmuck.